Okay, so we're back. Lesson 2 of the art course. If you have not watched lesson 1, you should go back and listen to lesson 1. It's a great introduction. It gives you a good understanding of limiting beliefs you might have around art and art creation and about yourself and your mind and what it can produce. And then come back to this video because now we're really getting into it. You even are gonna have some homework, but you're gonna love it, okay? You're gonna love this homework. I'm going to rebrand homework and you're going to be like, oh my god, I crave this. At night, I'm sleeping, I'm dreaming, and I'm like, she's giving me more homework. Okay, let's get into it. Art. You don't always need new things to look at. Sometimes you just need new ways to look at the same things. How does one do that? Watch indie movies. Watch home movies. Watch movies that are not professionally done. Listen to music that's not popular. Try to find on Spotify like the underground music. Mix colors. Try to invent a new color. Even if you're not going to end up inventing a new color, mix colors together until the cows come home. Read different books. Read a dictionary. Just expand your horizons. Expand the way that your mind can process things, because your mind cannot process things beyond your knowledge. That's why it's so interesting. You can pass the same street 10 times and then you'll have something on Google Maps and you're looking for a specific store, and then you'll see that you've passed the street 10 times and never saw the store. Because if your mind is not looking for something, it doesn't really see it to an extent. So you need more ways to look at the same things. And you have to rid yourself of the burden that art needs to be perfect. Art would absolutely need to be perfect if humans were perfect. If humans were perfect, art would need to be perfect, because art is a reflection of humans and the human experience. And of animals, but humans' interpretation of animals. But humans are not perfect. Spoiler alert. They're not perfect. So art that is perfect is horrible for humans. That's why I've made a short and a TikTok about AI and why art and AI are not in competition at all. Because the thing that humans have that AI doesn't have are emotions, are the imperfections. I gave this example before, but it bears repeating. You don't want to put flaws on a Barbie doll. It would look really weird. But on a human, you like flaws. You like that it's not a perfect face. You like that it doesn't look like anything you've seen before. You like that. Even the most beautiful human face has some flaws. And that is the likability of it. That's the humanness of it. The expressions on the face. That's why we don't especially love people where we can tell they have a lot of surgery, because it doesn't seem human to us. That's why, if you can't tell, it's fine, but once you can tell, it's weird. It's because the humanness, the human connection that humans crave is that even with dogs, they have the white part of their eyes and it's supposed to mimic babies, and that's why we can connect with dogs well. Now, there might be other reasons as well, but isn't that interesting? Even the species that are connected to us mimic us so that we relate to them better. Do not have an audience in mind. I think that is one of the few benefits of starting off and not having people follow you yet, and kind of being underground, and then being mainstream, or a little bit more mainstream or whatever. Having, for example, me, I've written 3 books already now, and of course, I would have wanted everyone to be a bestseller and everyone to love it straight away, but I do think there's a beauty in the fact that I got to write these 3 books just for me, and there was no audience in mind because there was no audience. And I hopefully can take that on for future projects, even if this picks up at some point. But the beauty of getting to express yourself, because it is less fun to make art for someone else, because it's guesswork. Also, people are surprising. If you look through someone's following, or if you ask an influencer for their favorite influencer, it's usually not the person that does exactly what they do. Like, the most intelligent influencers usually have like some silly little influencer that they're following. Not silly, but it's not their niche. They usually follow people that are completely different. hyper intellectuals love someone who does some silly things because it calms them down. Silly people love intelligence, so they get more intelligence. Not that you don't love the things you love as well, but there is duality in most people, and people need a breath of fresh air, and they don't get it often. And the people historically, like, that have done that the best are the people who go against the grain. And there is something to be said about commentary about, we've talked about this last one, where you don't want to be a mindless rebel, and you can make art from the standpoint of critiquing what there is, as well as trying to propel what there should be. But people are surprising, and people love the fresh air. Like Marilyn Monroe, one of the reasons why Marilyn Monroe was so big was because she came right after the very conservative, don't drink, don't dress like that movement in Hollywood. I don't remember the name, but that stuck out to me so much when I heard it the first time, because it makes sense. People love a breath of fresh air. Even on the flip side of not positive influences, right after there was a lot of like, don't say a single word wrong, don't have a single thought that is wrong, and don't ever question anything, there was these people who were like, do whatever you want, blah. Like, there is this need of a breath of fresh air, and sometimes that breath of fresh air is not fresh, it's just a different smell of vape. Oh, I love this metaphor. But it is just new. And the newness is something you can only bring if that is actually where you feel, if that's actually where you're at, if the rage is actually authentic, if the being mad is actually authentic, if that is actually where you feel. People need a breath of fresh air. People shouldn't follow trends for the most part, because by the time it's a trend, you actually need the opposite. By the time that there's a formula, you actually need to do the exact opposite. Read your quote from the book again. Turning something from an idea into a reality can make it seem smaller. It changes from unearthly to earthly. The imagination has no limits. The physical world does. The work exists in both. It's like a train ticket. The way you feel when you have the idea, and then when you actually have to put it down into paper, into painting, can make it seem smaller. And it doesn't actually get smaller, in my opinion. I agree slightly with the quote, but it does feel different. That's why if you don't have a manager, if you don't have someone breathing down your neck, you need an outline, you need deadlines, you need to be the earthly part of the unearthly art as well. Because there's a reason usually people hire a manager, for many reasons, but there's a reason that people who are very creative need someone who's very tactical and like this, do this, get this done by then. Because if you don't, you're gonna keep searching for perfect, you're gonna keep searching for what is now, and feelings change, and projects need to end, and eras have times that they start and that they end, and it's not gonna be perfect, it's not gonna be the best ever, maybe the first time, but it needs to end. Every story is a beginning and an end, and you need to then move on to the next project. I think if you would let an artist have say over how long they have an album for, they would never finish recording an album, because there always could be something new, and then there's a new emotion you feel, and then there's a new heartbreak. There needs to be beginning and end to art, because the way art feels, there never would be an end, and then it's so incohesive. And eras, there just needs to be eras to life. Be present. You need to be present. The reason that most of art is made about love, except that love is magical and cool and awesome and I love it, such a big love person, but the other reason is because it's one of the emotions that just makes you present. If you're in love, you're not everywhere and nowhere, you're there. Especially when you're just falling in love, when you have whatever. They will give you the technical like dopamine, blah blah blah, yes, but there's also this energy that's just there, that it's right there, and it's just the eyes, and it's just the emotion, and it's just this one person, and it's like, and that makes great art. Of course, it is also the person and love and that connection, but it is also the fact that it is almost impossible to be deeply in love and just not present, and not feeling things, and not focusing on every single detail. It is so difficult to do that. So love lends itself to art, because presence is art. Oh, I'll give you the example of the opposite. Well, I went to a coffee shop. I had headphones in. I heard half the sentence from the barista. I don't know what the other half was. I don't really care though. I don't really care stops almost all of art. There's very few pieces of art where I don't really care works. You need to care. You need to give all of the fucks. Let go of detachment and attach again. Like, yeah. Okay, now we're gonna do homework. This is how homework is gonna work. You're gonna do the homework and either you keep it to yourself, or if you want to share it with me, which I would love, then you post it to TikTok and you tag me. And then I will react to it. I'll make a whole video. I'll be like so proud because I would love that. But it can also just obviously just be for you. But if you do want me to see it, my TikTok is linked below, and just make a video and tag me and I will see all of them. I'm so excited. So what is the homework? Okay, so the homework is you will draw a box, and in the box, the things you want to be more present with. So the things you want to observe for art. And then outside of the box, you'll write the things that will help you with that. Meditation, breath work, new hobbies, whatever. You have to figure it out for yourself. You have to figure out when was the last time I was really, really present, or when was the last time I produced an artwork I really, really liked, or conversation. When was the last conversation I loved, and what did I do? And then write it out, the outlines. Oh, please tag me if you post it. I would love to see those. Okay, thank you so much, and see you next Saturday.